Hello there. I apologize for my mini hiatus again. However, more videos are coming. Trust me. This time, 100%, okay? So in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to install Debian Linux on your system. As you can see in the background, right now I'm running Debian Linux as my main system, or as my main operating system. And there are a lot of benefits, I would say. But if you're looking into switching into Linux or anything, then this video is for you. There are some things that may be confusing about installing Linux, but trust me, watch this video, you will understand absolutely everything there is needing to know about how to install Linux on your system. Anyways, let's get to the installation. So the first step is to actually install the image on which we're going to then format our USB on. So I got the website on where we can download the image. We are going to be downloading Debian Linux. So on this website, scroll down. I'll link this website in the description below. But if you go on this website, then click on this one right here, Debian 11.60 the ISO file, and just wait until it's done downloading. It may take some time depending on your network and your hard drive, of course. So just wait for some time and let it install. All right, so now that we have this installed, we can move on to the second step. So what is the second step exactly? The second step is to get a USB. Now, what do we actually need a USB for? So once you stick in your USB into your computer, such as just like that, you're gonna have to install another piece of software that basically burns the ISO file into the USB in order to boot it on your system. That may sound a bit confusing, but I'll show you exactly how that works. Alright, so now that we have plugged in the USB, we're going to install the second piece of software, which is just an image burner. Depending if you're already on Linux or Windows, you can install either or. You can either use Rufus, which is good for Windows. It doesn't work on Linux, unfortunately, but it's really good on Windows. But we're going to use bootable Etcher, because this works on all, it's cross-platform, it works on every single operating system. So we just download that. We're going to download it for Windows as an app image. And there we go. Here's a bootable Etcher. We're going to actually run this. So if you're on Linux, then just do the following. So it should boot up if you've done the following. So what we want to do right now is flash from file. We're going to find the file, the Debian install, double click it. Select target. The target should be our USB drive. So if this is your USB drive, this is my USB drive, click and press select. And now we're going to flash. Now you just want to put in your password. And there you go. It's going to start flashing your USB drive. Now this may take some time. It does have an estimated time here, so just wait until that time and it'll probably be finished. Alright, so our USB has finished flashing. So now we're gonna reboot our system. Yeah, we're just gonna reboot our system. Alright, so now that we have our flashed USB, we're gonna plug it back in and then reboot the system. That's exactly what you're gonna do. You're gonna plug it back in, just like that, and then we're gonna, oh, it detected the USB over there, that's good. Reboot the system. So now basically what you wanna do is you wanna go into your UEFI or BIOS. What that is basically what happens before your computer actually boots to an operating system. So depending on whichever motherboard or manufacturer you have, you either press F2 or F10. I have to press F2, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to just keep pressing F2, and it's going to load us into our BIOS. So here we go. We have our BIOS over here. Now if we just click on boot menu, you'll see a bunch of them, but what we want to find is UEFI generic. Basically that's our USB that we've plugged in. That's the boot for it. So we're just gonna click on one of them like that, and it should log in to our Debian install. So now we're gonna go to the actual install itself. So looking at the previous clip, I realized that you couldn't actually see what it was. So here's a picture of what I was talking about. The red circle aligns with what you're supposed to boot into, and all you have to do is click that, and then you'll get to the installation process. Alright, so now we're on the installation. So we're gonna do a graphical install, because that's just much easier to do. Alright, so let's start with the installation. So it's going to be English, United States, or wherever you live. American English, that's what I do. Whenever you're installing Debian, I would always recommend you use an Ethernet cable in order to install it, because it's just much easier than configuring your network with like a Wi-Fi adapter or something, or even on the inbuilt Wi-Fi motherboard. Anyways, let's continue. So we got the host name Debian. We don't need a domain name. Now we have a password. You can make it whatever you want. Full name for new user, new user. There we go. Choose a password for that user. There we go. Now your desired time zone. For me, it's Eastern. Now this is the one part that people have a lot of trouble on. Honestly, if you're gonna format everything on your disk and install Linux, then use entire disk. But if you're gonna do something like dual boot, I would always recommend manual. So you have like so basically how this works is that on your hard drive you have partitions, and each partition holds a certain amount of storage. So one partition could have like a Windows boot, and the other partition can have a Linux boot, and both of them can have like assigned hard drives to each other, or assigned partitions in order to store other information onto those hard drives. But we're not going to do that right now. That can be for a separate video if you guys really need that. We're just going to use the entire disk. Yeah, all files in one partition. Finish partitioning disk. Yes. Now it's going to install the base system. Say no to this for scanning anything. For this, say yes. We're going to use a network mirror. Configure your package manager. So basically where you're going to get all of your package from, which servers you're going to get your packages from. So I'm going to get mine from a Canadian. Hold on. Give me a sec. Yeah, so we're just going to do debian.org. You don't need an HTTP for that. Alright, so now this is going to be up to your choice. So depending on which desktop environment you want, you can go with GNOME, Xface. I usually go with KDE Plasma and just have that installed. But what you're gonna want as the base is Debian desktop environment and standard system utilities. You should always have those two checkmarked, but then you can have any of these checkmarked. If you want to create a web server or an SSH server, then click these two, of course. But we're just gonna go with KDE Plasma because that is the one we want. Alright, so now it's asking if you want to install Grub bootloader, and you are going to say yes to this because otherwise there is no way you're going to be able to boot into your system. And there we go, your installation is now complete. So click continue. And now it will restart. What you're going to want to do is unplug your USB driver and just boot into Debian. So here we go. And there we go. We have a completely fresh install of Debian. If I just log in, and this is KDE if you've never used it before. So yep. And there we go. Here it is. This is right now I'm running it under a virtual machine, but it will be the same thing if you're doing it on your system. So let's say I go into Firefox, the default web browser for Linux. And here we go. So now you can just literally do whatever you want. This is Debian Linux. You can also, oh, that's the wrong application. You can also run your, oh my god, I'm so sorry. You can run your terminal. Here we go. So yep, this is our Debian system. Little app upgrade. Not bad. There we go. There we go. So you have a fresh Debian install, and yep, that's basically it. So that's basically how you install Debian Linux on your system. It's fairly simple. Sometimes there may be some mess ups, and if you do have anything like that, leave it in the comments down below and I'll do whatever I can to answer your question. But in any event, Debian Linux is very useful to get into. Not only Debian Linux, just Linux in general, especially for running servers or anything. Linux is probably the best operating system to run servers on. Or even if you're running it under a virtual machine, which is basically what I did, I installed it under a virtual machine, then that's completely fine if you just want to try it out. It runs pretty nicely on virtual machines compared to Windows in my experience. That's going to be the end of this video. Leave any questions you have in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video, which is going to be soon.